Well, thank you all. I know people are going to kind of keep coming in, which is great. I think we had about 50 people register. Of course, about 55 people. Some folks may or may not be with us, but we'll probably have pretty good sized group, I would think. Um, so thank you for joining us today during your lunch hour. Um, I just want to go over a little bit of housekeeping before we get started, which first of all, we are recording this event, which it should be letting you know when you're joining us. So we'll be adding this to our online resource library after the fact. You are welcome to keep your camera on or off during this presentation. Welcome to eat your lunch during this presentation, all the things. But we do ask that you keep yourself muted, unless you're speaking, just to help us with any kind of like extra sound that might be going on. We've got a couple folks who will be helping to just look at our chat and make sure there's not any questions or things we're missing, but Nicole Davis from our board and Alyssa Del Tufo from our staff are going to be just monitoring the chat as we go. And so we'll really have like a presentation and then some time for Q&A. But I do want to encourage folks to please use the chat. Is someone near a boat? That was an amazing. Is someone on a boat right now? That was amazing. um, we want to encourage you to use the chat for any questions or comments you have during the presentation. And even right now, I'd really like to invite folks to throw your name into the chat, introduce yourself. Who are you? What organization do you work for? And even like, where are you zooming in from today, especially if you are on a boat? I'm very interested in that. And definitely for our staff and board members, please kind of identify yourself while you're introducing yourself in the chat that you are a board member or a staff member of Plan New Hampshire. So I think that kind of covers all the real introductory housekeeping. My name is Tiffany Tononi McNamara. I'm the director here at Plan New Hampshire. This is our annual town hall event, which we've been doing virtually since COVID, but we decided this was a good event, although most everything else is in person, that there are a few things that are really great to have virtually just for accessibility and things. So this is our time to really connect with members as well as people who are just interested in learning more about us and really going over some of the things we accomplished last year and talking about where we're headed for next year, this year already. I guess it's not next anymore, 2024. So thank you all for joining us. I noticed that my slides weren't advancing. I want to start by thanking our sponsors. Sponsorship is a big part of the support we get here at Plan New Hampshire for our mission. So we're always very grateful to our sponsors. And today we have Milestone Construction and H.L. Turner Group as our lead sponsors, and New Hampshire Saves, and then Robert White from our board, who's also a landscape architect, sponsoring at the event sponsor level. And we really appreciate that support from those sponsors, as well as all the sponsors who help us throughout the year. This is our agenda for our hour together. Sorry about that. Just kind of reintroducing our organization. Really, again, welcoming new members, which we like to take the time to do, looking back at last year, forward this year, and then just some time for Q&A. And again, if you have any questions or comments while we're presenting, please feel free to use the chat or raise your hand. We don't want to be like overly formal. Our mission here at Plan New Hampshire is really to foster that excellence in planning, design, and development of New Hampshire's built environment. So we've been around since 1989. We were started by a group of architects who are very, very active in AIA, their trade association, if you will, but they were looking for kind of a third space, a place where architects, planners, construction professionals, engineers could all get together and really come together around their shared passion for the built environment in New Hampshire. And that's exactly what they did. And that's who we are today. So we're really a multidisciplinary community. And I think that's pretty evident in our programs, the type of educational events we have, even our networking events. I think everyone has that shared passion for New Hampshire and all has some piece of the pie when it comes to the built environment, but we're all kind of representing different disciplines a lot of times. And actually, this is a great time. I'd like to really quickly do a quick poll. Okay, I'm not a poll expert here, so we're going to start with a test, okay, just to make sure this is working. So hopefully everyone can see this test question. What is the state bird of New Hampshire? No pressure to get it right, but if you are a New Hampshireite, oh, no emperor penguin votes. That's okay. So we've got American robin, purple finch, red-winged blackbird, or emperor penguin. The correct answer is the purple finch. Beautiful bird. Okay, great. Thank you guys for humoring me with that. I wanted to make sure everything was going to work out well before we start with a couple questions. Pretty simple questions, really. But I want to start by just asking, are you a member of Plan New Hampshire? Do you know? Yes, we love it. Not yet. Good question. I'm not sure, which is sometimes the case. Sometimes firms are a member, but not everyone on their team always knows. So it's always great to see kind of who's in the room. And I'll give it one more minute. Got a few more. Okay, so generally, hopefully you guys can see this. We have 55% of folks who responded are members, 32% not yet, and a few people aren't sure, which is also good. We love to make sure staff and members of different firms know that they're members. So we'll probably do some follow-up, but that's great to know. This is pretty common for a lot of our events. A lot of our members come out and support, but we always have folks who aren't members yet or might be a part of agencies that can't be members for whatever reason, state agencies and things. So that's great to know. Also wondering what sector you're a part of. Private sector, public sector, nonprofit sector. You might be somewhere in between, but go with what most closely represents your organization. Okay. Yeah, this looks about pretty common to a lot of our events. So a lot of folks here are from private sector firms, companies, but we probably have, and I know from registration, we have quite a few municipal folks and people from the nonprofit sector, the state Office of Planning and Development. So great to see who is here. And I'm going to ask one more question for now, and then hopefully it all goes smooth. So smooth so far. So what area of the community development field most closely matches your profession? I know some of you probably do it all. But if you do it all, go with your passion. We've got architecture, construction, engineering, economic development, historic preservation, planning, and the elusive other. Almost got everybody. All right, I'm going to share this. Let's see. Yep. So we've got our biggest response was engineering, but you kind of see like the AEC folks, engineering, construction, architecture, but then also our planners. Yeah, a little bit of everything. And other. Anyone, if you put other, feel free to throw in the chat, how you're connected to the community development field. Thank you guys. Okay, we'll take a break from polls. I'm going to turn it over real briefly to Amanda Savage from our board, and she's just going to introduce our executive board and say a couple words of welcome. So Amanda, if you're here.
I am, if you can hear me, all's good. Amanda Savage, Vice President of the board. I work for North Branch Construction as Business Development. I've been on the board for about 4 years. I would love to welcome everybody to this afternoon's event. Again, we loved being able to share what we've done in the past since in 2023, and looking forward to sharing with everyone what we have in up and coming, some exciting programming opportunities. I will start with Brian Garris as president. He's with us today on the call, but because he was in transit between one location to the other, he normally does this part of the call or of the town hall. Brian Garris has been president of the board for, I believe, about 5 years now, as he's coming in from Milestone Construction. I'll also introduce Kelly DeMore, our treasurer. She's done a great job. We've had great success with moving our financials in a very positive and forward direction. And she is also a partner at Nathan Wexler and Company. And then next we have Caroline Corvo. She is secretary of the executive board. She is a Warren Street Architects, and always a bright and shining face on our board every time we meet. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Tiffany.
Thank you. Thanks, Amanda.
Yeah.
And Caroline was just promoted to partner at her firm. So 3 cheers for Caroline. She also helps us with our marketing. So I told her she has to make a post letting everyone know that one of our board members, AKA her, received this promotion. So she's helping us do that, which I really appreciate, because we love letting folks know when our board members have hit those great milestones. Here's the rest of our board. So we have an 18-member board right now. You probably recognize some of these folks just from being in the community. The newest face on our board is Carl Frank. He joined this past October, so really for starting this year, and he's with the City of Manchester as well as Arc Lab Design Studios. So we're really happy to have him joining our crew. Probably not surprisingly, for those of you who are involved with nonprofits, you probably know that an active board really makes a difference for a small organization. So we're really indebted to the folks who've given their time and their talents to this level of service. So thank you to all of our board members. And our staff. We are small but mighty, as I always say. Many of you might have known Cecilia Azzi. She was our membership coordinator, and she in December returned to her previous work with Exeter Fine Crafts. So if you're around those parts, be sure to say hi to her, and we're going to miss her around here. So meanwhile, Alyssa and I are going to, keeping on over here at Plan New Hampshire. For those of you who don't know us, there's myself, the executive director, and Alyssa Del Tufo, who's our program manager. Specifically, Alyssa focuses on the Invest NH municipal planning and zoning grant program. She works really closely. There's a steering committee for that program. She works with New Hampshire Housing on that program and really helps support the grant administration. We'll say a couple more words about that program as we get further into the presentation. But so right now we are a team of 2 full-time people. I don't think Plan New Hampshire's ever had 2 full-time people in the past, so it's kind of a big accomplishment for us. And we're happy to be here. If
doubled our employees, Tiffany.
Yeah, thank you. We doubled our full-time staff, which is really big for a small nonprofit. In addition to our board and staff, I want to acknowledge and thank our members. So we do have a membership program. It's a huge part of how we really are as a nonprofit. It's a big part of our revenue, a big part of our support base and our community, and just how we function. So you kind of see a little list here of the different sorts of practitioners and volunteers from across the community development sector who are in our membership. There's a full list on our website, but just like this meeting showed with the polls, it's kind of folks from all over who really care about New Hampshire and contributing. Right now we have 88 active member organizations. And of course, within those organizations, many more individuals who utilize member benefits, and that ranges from registration discounts for educational events and our awards evening to networking opportunities, committee volunteer opportunities, and for folks who are really in the design world, kind of those first dibs for participating on our community design charrette teams, which is a really big aspect of membership for many of our members. Here you'll see our platinum and gold members who really go above and beyond, both financially, but also just in terms of being active with our organization on committees and helping with programs and events throughout the year. So huge thank you to them. And again, if you were interested in membership, if you're not a member, of course, let us know. And there's much more information on our website. We were fortunate to have many new members last year. So last year we welcomed 17 new members and 3 new members joined just this January. So here's our, we have 2 slides just welcoming these firms and companies and individuals to our team. We had a goal last year of not only growing membership, but really connecting more with municipal communities who would be interested in membership. So we were really happy to welcome the city of Keene, and also you'll see on this slide, we've got Allenstown and Barrington, Charlestown, Derry, and New Hampton all joined last year. Some of them, some of these members are maybe rejoining from previous years or joining for the first time, but we're very, very happy to welcome them and hope to have like a similarly long list next year to share. Now, before we start talking about last year, I just wanted to have a couple folks who do volunteer with us and who are members share a few words. So I'm hoping that, and I think they're on the call, but I'm hoping, Bob White, are you here? I know I saw you when I first started.
Yep.
Hey, Bob. So Bob is on our charrette committee, our fall conference committee, and our board of directors. And I was just hoping just like a couple minutes about yeah, what you get out of volunteering and why you like it, why other people should do it, perhaps.
Hi, and good afternoon, everybody. So yeah, I mean, for my part, the role that Plan can play, particularly in the charrette process, is that we fill a void that is very difficult in many cases, particularly with towns and cities. Where there might be an issue that a community needs to look at, that they need to just have sort of a process that doesn't have as many boundaries as normal sort of municipal processes, and whether it's a contracted, consultant or a blue ribbon committee appointed by a city council, we get to work in between in sort of a nexus point in between all of those opportunities and the different perspectives that many town planning and design decisions involve. So in many ways, it's kind of like you get to, it involves working, very hard on a Friday and a Saturday, but it's really like you get to go and be thoughtful and creative. I used to say that I go to work on charrettes just so I could have some art therapy and get off the phone and stop, managing things and actually be able to do design work. And unfortunately, that doesn't always happen because sometimes you just need people on the organizing side. But I would say that I have, at least personally and professionally, had many very meaningful opportunities with communities to work with them, to see them sort of lay out their issues on the table. It's very transparent, super honest and sincere conversations. And then on the other side of it, to see, a room full of our volunteers, everybody who's given a lot of time, an enormous amount of energy is sort of flows in those 48 hours to come up with really, really excellent ways for communities to sort of get a better handle on what they're dealing with. We do not fulfill the role of a consultant. We're not, it's not like our reports are like consultant reports. They're basically idea books with a strategic and illustrative component to it. So it's also the communities have an opportunity to have 20 or 25 people sometimes of all that thoughtfulness and talent brought together for their benefit. For a short period of time. So that's just been super meaningful for me. A little bit of lost sleep, but that's okay. You can always sleep on Sunday.
Thanks, Bob. Thank you. And I'll mention this again later, but we are going to have an event next month for people who are specifically interested in learning more about our charrette program. And we'll really dive into more details on what it is and how you can get involved. But I really appreciate that, Bob. And Bill Hickey, are you here? Yes.
Present.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Bill Hickey's also on our board. Turner Group sponsoring this event, but Bill's also an active member of our membership committee and our golf committee. Why should people be like involved at the committee level, Bill?
Well, I think, obviously plan, if you don't are familiar with plan, look at the mission, plan's mission. It's probably one of the best missions in the state. And the work they do, like Bob mentioned, the charrettes and other things are just incredible. But, things like the golf tournament and events like that just help fund scholarships and a lot of other things that plan, does to help out folks around the state. So it's just a wonderful organization and would strongly encourage everybody to participate.
Thanks, Bill. I really appreciate it. Bill's at a trade. Are you at a trade show right now? Is that what?
I'm in Portsmouth at the school business officials trade show. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
a wonderful way to spend a day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Always wearing 3 hats. So and lastly, I was hoping Jason Plord from VHB could jump in. They're one of our gold members, and Jason's on our charrette committee, and he has been a part of our charrettes, but also just as a committee member. Jason, what made you want to be involved at kind of that level, not just being on a charrette team, but being on the actual program committee?
Well, I guess it kind of goes back to 2011 for my first charrette. That was in Stratham. And that's when I was just absolutely blown away by, the unity, the passion, the skill set that that everybody brought to the table. Everybody left their egos on the side. They left their company logos on the side. It was everybody just pulling together and finding the best solutions that the community was looking for. Since then, I've been to a total of 8 charrettes. And each one has been so challenging and different and exciting. So many people that are on this call right now, I've gotten to know them very, very well, like Bob White. Unfriggin' believable, that guy. The talent that he has. Brian Pratt. I mean, it doesn't matter if we work for different companies. We're all kind of like swimming in the same direction and trying to come up with the goals and reaching those goals for the community. I decided to get more involved with the Design Charrette Committee because I felt like that I could bring a different aspect from a traffic engineering perspective that may not necessarily have been there before. I think that we all have our own specialties and we just really work and mesh well together. And again, it's all the respect that we have for each person that is part of, whether it's the different boards and committees or even part of the charrettes. Everybody is really, pulling together. And why is it? Me personally, I got involved back in 2011 where my wife is a special ed teacher and she specializes in helping kids with dyslexia learn how to read. Our daughter is an occupational therapist working with children. What was I doing? What was my excuse for not helping out and making a difference? So I was like, okay, well, how could I use my power for good, right? Instead of for evil for land developers or anything like that. And it's how do we get everybody to work together? And I started talking with Tiffany's predecessor, Robin LeBlanc, and she said, hey, you know what? We could really use you in helping us out here. And that just was able to build up so many relationships throughout my career, whether it's within the communities or within, the professional field. It's absolutely amazing. And I definitely recommend that if you have an opportunity to partake in one of these design charrettes, you won't regret it. It's absolutely amazing.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I feel like I paid you for that, but I didn't, just for the record.
You did not. That is correct.
There's no compensation for being a part of a Plan New Hampshire committee or for giving a testimony, unfortunately, testimonial. But thank you, all 3 of you, Bob, Bill, and Jason. That was great. If you can't tell, like other than just letting you know more about Plan, of course, we're always looking for people to be involved with us. And so I think it's great just to hear from folks who are, just in case it's a little inspiring to people who are on the fence. So let's look back at 2023. Besides our program calendar, we just also had some great successes. I already mentioned growing our membership. So we had a 15% increase from the previous year. We started publishing member spotlights, which were really popular. And we're going to keep doing that for our new members, longtime members, just to really showcase who our members are. We also began sharing registration lists for all of our events with those who are attending, which was at the request of some of our members, and just really trying to be in tune with our members and their needs. Hold on. Okay, lost my screen share for a second, but that's okay. We will fix it. Okay, here we go. And we created like a rough breakdown of our membership by industry type, which I'm sure there's a lot of different ways to categorize some of the firms. Some firms do kind of do it all, but you can kind of see in this little pie chart, if you will, that 65% of our members fall somewhere in the architecture, engineering, construction world, but we also have a really good portion of municipal and planning folks, and then just others who support the community development field, whether it's, insurance firms or finance firms, things like that. So those were some, really good things that we had happen last year in membership. And then in terms of our events, we had a huge participation growth in participation, excuse me. So we had 37% increase in overall attendance and a 25% increase in the number of sponsorships. And some of our events really truly were like a standing room only. So looking for a little bit bigger spaces this year, but also it was just great to see that and to know that we're matching, our content and our speakers with what our members and our supporters are looking for. And every year we add to our Plan New Hampshire Fellowship Endowment. And so we did add $1,700 from our golf tournament last year, which is always really important to us. And we're looking to grow that in the future. In terms of our program calendar, we had this event. We had our spring workshop really focused on solar energy. That was our standing room only workshop in Raymond at the REDC. We had a couple different after hours events in January as well as August. So thank you to our hosts for those events. And we had our annual scholarship awards, which people might not know this, but the scholarship program is one of the reasons we were founded. And so it's been something we've been doing for a long time, partnering with the Charitable Foundation on a couple different funds, as well as our own fund. And those things are it's really important to us. So all the students who receive those dollars and that support are entering into, the community development or design fields. And it's really important to our selection committee to be a part of that. Our merit awards it's another annual thing we do. They were great last year. We had more nominations than we've ever had in the past, which made our committees work, it gave them some work to do, which is great. These were our actual awardees last year. And on the left side, you'll see the front page of New Hampshire Municipal Association's Town and City magazine. They asked for permission to use a photo from McFarland Johnson's project in Claremont, which received not only the Merit Award of Excellence award, but also really with honor. The committee really saw this project as really above and beyond. And we were so pleased to be able to award them and all of these awardees that evening at our awards night in Concord. And then as we moved into the summer and the fall, we continued our walking tours of previous charrette communities. That was really popular the year before. We got a lot of great feedback. So the year before we were in Bristol, and last year we went to Franklin. It was awesome. And it, again, as if we had paid someone, it's like, while we're walking by the river, the kayakers are getting into the water. You can see some of the photos for almost like they were there for our tour group, which they were not. But we had a great tour there with the planning director. and some of the city staff. And our fall conference was a great success. We brought in Richard Amore from the Vermont Department of Housing and Community Development to be our keynote and really give us some perspective from, our neighbors on next to us in New Hampshire. And then we had a lot of speakers from around New Hampshire and really hearing about what they are doing, Place Work, Fuss and O'Neill, New England Family Housing, GSD Studios, a lot of different folks who could really speak to some of the creative projects that are taking place right now. And as always, we have our annual golf tournament, biggest fundraiser of the year. And we had 3 charrettes last year, which is probably our max until we are a bigger organization. And we worked in Brentwood, Campden, and Manchester. When we do send a follow-up, I'll send some links to some of those final reports for people who are interested. It was a great year for our charrette program. And our Invest New Hampshire partnership last year was really the first full year we were working on that. So it started the previous fall, and it became a huge part of our 2023 program calendar. So Alyssa Del Tufo was hired last January to really provide grant administration support for that program. We have a contract through New Hampshire Housing, and our slice of the Invest NH pie, if you will, is the municipal planning and zoning grants. So there are a lot of other Invest NH programs that have, Plan New Hampshire is not a part of, but that's really the piece we are a part of. And it's focused on supporting municipalities in developing land use regulations to increase housing opportunities in ways that work for their community. So we're not dictating like what that means for them, but really helping to support the ways in which they are trying to mitigate the housing crisis. Initially, we really weren't sure what the response to the program would be, but we've had over 4.3 million awarded out to 60 plus grantees. So Alyssa is pretty busy, which is great. And it's been wonderful. So all those funds have been awarded. The grantees are still working through their projects, but that's been a huge part of our past year and will be a huge part of us moving into 2024. So for that reason, I kind of just starting with that program again. We're going to continue working on this program. We are contracted through September 2024 to continue working with the grantees and supporting the administrative side of things, but also going to be doing several site visits, both virtual and in person, with grantees, bringing grantees together with other grantees so that they can learn from each other, working closely with UNH's Cooperative Extension Center. And very exciting is there is a possibility of an additional 2.9 million that might be dedicated to continuing the housing opportunity planning portion of this program. So it still is kind of in its final phases of hopefully being approved, but it's already gone through the Joint Legislative Fiscal Committee and the Executive Council at the state level in terms of reappropriating some of the Invest NH funds. And the Executive Council is going to be voting in mid-March hopefully to approve the contract amendment between BEA and New Hampshire Housing, which would allow for that additional 2.9 million, which would be wonderful. I mean, it would help us keep Alyssa on, it would help us continue the program and continue the impact that the program is having across the state. So cross your fingers for us, put a little crystal out on your nightstand, hoping that that is going to be something we'll be able to announce shortly after mid-March. Our community design charrette program, one of our mainstays, will be in Sunapee and Newmarket this year. Sunapee in April, coming up soon. Newmarket not till later in October. And we always have room for one more. I think we can do 3 a year. So in case you or a community you're involved in might be interested and ready for something like this, please have them reach out to me. We are going to be having an info session next March 28th next month, specific to this program, because we've had a lot of questions from people about really specifically how to volunteer on a charrette team, like what are we looking for, what's the commitment, things like that. So we're going to talk both about that piece of it, how to volunteer, what it looks like, why to volunteer, but also if people are interested in applying to the program for their community, we'll talk about that as well. So if that's something that you're interested in, I definitely recommend signing up for that. We're going to be doing that virtually, so it's should be easy peasy for folks just to fit into their schedules, hopefully.
And Tiffany, if we could, just because
Yeah.
Sunapee is coming up quickly enough,
Yes.
we are absolutely looking for more volunteers on that. Landscape architects, environmentally oriented people. There's some waterfront, harborfront, and connectivity opportunities there, which would really engage the site planning people. Anybody who's got a focus on economic development, that would be a huge plus. Traffic, Jason, is going to be a topic. So yeah, please, if you're interested, this is our second charrette in Sunapee. They have come back to us because they were so delighted with the work that was done a number of years ago. So this will be building on the success of a prior charrette.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, North is going to be the lead for that charrette. And as he said, we are looking for more volunteers. So please let me know if you're interested. It's always a good time, as you heard from like Bob and Jason. So, and if you are interested, I can give you a lot more details about what that looks like. Our scholarship and fellowship program, I'm not going to go through all our programs for the year, but just the things that are really coming up in the next couple of months. So the applications for this program are due April 12th, which is why I wanted to highlight it. And that's for any student who calls New Hampshire home and is studying in the fields related to our mission, related to community development. And so those applications go through the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation. It's like a one-stop shop for many different funds. We help to our committee makes decisions for the Plan New Hampshire Fellowship Fund, the Alfred T. Granger Student Art Trust Fund, and the Paul and Ann Harvey Scholarship Fund. And as I mentioned before, we were able to award $30,000 to students last year. Hopefully similar this year. And so if anyone on your staff or anyone you know is working on a degree right now, I would definitely recommend applying or just promoting it, to your interns or whomever else, because it's really a lot of the people who've received these scholarships in the past are now working in the field. So I just wanted to plug that. And if you're interested in helping us grow the Plan New Hampshire Fellowship Fund, please let us know. That's one of our goals this coming year. Here is a little bit of the rest of our program calendar. I'll make sure everyone has access to our calendar afterwards, but we're going to be in Sunapee in April, and we're going to be doing our spring workshop again this year on EVs at Unitil's new location in Exeter. Very excited about that. And we have an upcoming walking tour in Manchester planned, looking at different kinds of housing developments. I won't go through the whole calendar, but I just wanted to highlight those. And hopefully we'll see all of you at some in-person things this year. And lastly, people always ask me, how can they support Plan New Hampshire? And honestly, by being here, cheesy but true, you're already doing it. Learning more, being able to know more about us, being able to tell someone else about us, that really helps. Becoming a member if you're not already, recruiting new members. We have some people with reoccurring donations, so that's always welcome and a big plus. Sponsoring events, staying connected, and volunteering. So you heard from some of our volunteers today, whether they're on the board or a committee or a charrette team, but volunteers with a staff of 2, Alyssa and I don't do it all. Volunteers really help make things happen at Plan New Hampshire. So it's really important to us to keep that volunteer pipeline going and welcome new people in all the time. And so on that note, I want to say thank you for being here. I want to open it up for any questions. It's I don't have, let me see. Is there anything in the chat?
There's nothing in the chat so far.
Okay, thanks, Nicole. I always have like 100 things opened up, but does anyone have any questions or want to make any comments, whether you're new to Plan or maybe been a long time supporter?
If you're not part of us, join us. It's a hell of a ride.
No burning questions? I did see the comment from you, Jamie, about adding real estate next time. Good point. Real estate developers are also involved in Plan New
May
Hampshire.
I
so-
ask a question?
Yes.
What do you think of the idea of, I mean, like Franklin did with kayaking and kayaks and supportive services for such activity? What do you think of focusing on children and families for Alton?
Me
It's right.
personally, or are you kind of
Yes.
asking the group?
Well, the group,
Yeah. So for Alton, New Hampshire, you're saying
Precisely.
focusing on children and families as like a revitalization strategy? Is that what you're kind of?
precisely, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Does anyone want to comment to that? Whether about Alton or about the idea of really being able to like leverage children and families as a revitalization strategy
I
in
know
a
of no,
state that's known for aging, right? So I think it's a good question.
may I ask something further? I
Yes.
know of, or make a statement, I should say. I know of no town on Lake Winnipesaukee or anywhere else in the Lakes region or the state for that matter that focuses on children and families. You know what I mean? You know how a Sandwich focuses on crafts, sort of, and Franklin on kayaks, for example. Well, Alton could be the children family focus town. You know what I mean? That's what I think.
Mm,
I live
I
in
think,
Belmont right now, but I don't know of
okay.
a good area of focus for Belmont. But
Yeah, I think, and if anyone wants to comment on that, I think it's a great point. I know that when Franklin did their last, they've done more than one charrette with us, which usually is a sign of a very motivated community. And their most recent charrette with us was called Franklin for All. And so it wasn't necessarily children's and family specific, but it was really about all ages. So kids, seniors, families, and it was very, very important to them, a huge centerpiece of that charrette to focus on recommendations that would really, really help Franklin be a community for all people. So in some ways, even though I know the kayaking gets a lot of, it's novelty and it's very interesting and unique, but they really were looking at what do all ages need in Franklin, and I think it's been really successful for them. So I think Alton or any other
Well, and
community
the,
would.
the kayaking is a private enterprise that came out after the charrette that we had in town. So what the charrette was looking at were opportunities for revitalization and use of the waterways in town, among a number of other things. So it was somewhat of a organic response to that, but Marty, who started that program, has done really, really well. So I think I love the idea. I love the question because it's very intriguing. I did see Jessica had a comment about her group in the chat, community advocates and organizers. I don't know if is that part of your group, Jessica, the Granite State Organizing Project?
Well, being a tenant organizer, knowing what other organizers do, we tend to focus on the needs of the community and increase the sound of it so that others can hear and notice the problem too. But they're generally got their finger on the pulse of the city and will be able to tell you what areas are more dangerous, what do the kids need for the community for growth, stuff like that. I was at the last one and I was able to bring the need for, in Manchester at the charrette, I brought up the need for tenant organizing there due to the dilapidation of several apartments and tenant rights issues. And it came up as a big need that we saw in the circle graph that was done at the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point, Jessica. And I remember you from that charrette. Thank you for participating. Because even though we work, all of us, I think, at the community level to have as many people involved as possible, everyone can't always be at the input sessions, the feedback sessions. And so also making sure that organizers and people who are kind of in that role are there to hopefully in good faith represent certain groups of people, like Jessica was helping to represent tenants who are living in the area of Manchester we were working in. I think that is a really important part of just doing outreach and trying to make sure you're reaching as many people as possible in the community, even if you can't reach every person directly.
Thank you.
Well, it's 12:45. Does anyone else want to share anything or have any other questions? And if not, I think we can give this time
If we
back to
wanted to
you.
join Plan New Hampshire, there's a fee involved, right?
There is, we do have membership fees, and I can make sure to include that information in the follow-up.
Do you ever do scholarships for those of us that are at the lower end of the income?
That's a great question because we haven't, but we have talked about it. Last year, we talked like towards the end of the year, it was something that came up with our board. And so it's something we are still exploring. So I would be very open to having that conversation. And so I can share the information and follow up with you and everyone just in general about membership, but also about the possibility of like scholarship membership.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jessica.
I'll put my email in the chat real quick.
Great.
Tiffany, can you please email me information on Plan New Hampshire and
Yes, absolutely.
it's fee and it's possible scholarship.
Sure. Anyone
I'm
who
disabled right now and I have limited money.
we will definitely follow up with everyone who registered for this event because we should have your emails through the registration and make sure you
Yes,
all have
yes.
that information. And then feel free to also connect back with me individually as well. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Well, thank you, everyone. It was really nice to spend this time with you and nice to see so many familiar faces and names. I hope that, in these extra 13 minutes, you actually get to have your lunch today.
Mhm.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Tiffany.